Sir, good to have you in as always. I'm wondering what you make of this debt ceiling deal, which would set the U.S. military budget for the upcoming fiscal year at about $886 billion. It's a big figure, is it not?
It is indeed, Blake. It's almost deja vu. I was the Assistant Vice Chief of Staff of the Air Force in July of 2011, and we were facing a debt ceiling, very similar challenge when you had a newly elected House Republican leadership and facing President Obama. They finally came to a conclusion, a successful conclusion, 2 days prior to the debt ceiling needed to be raised. So it's significant. Just as General Milley said in the comments at the top of the block, it would have significant impact on national security because our economic security really undermines our national security. From paying 1.3 million of our military members, they could have delayed paychecks. It's 2.4 million veterans could end up having their checks delayed and so forth. But it's not just the money aspect of this. It's also really the consequence could be how to operate our military bases. I was a commander of a major Air Force installation. I couldn't imagine trying to lead my base and my aircraft and so forth in a way that I wasn't able to really pay bills at the local level. So it has far-reaching effects here, but it also has far-reaching effects abroad, as General Milley underscored.
You mentioned 2011 when you were involved with all of this. The military budget at that point in time was $752 billion. We're talking about $130 billion more since then. Part of the argument from Republicans is that the increase in defense spending, according to the deal that was struck between the commander-in-chief and the Speaker of the House, wouldn't meet inflation expectations. Do you think Republicans have a leg to stand on there with that argument?
Well, I think, as you allude to Senator Graham's comments about the defense authorization bill, the leg they're standing on is the fact that there is a lot of that is based on having to pay for inflation and other things, as well as since 2011, frankly, the world's changed. We have a very powerful emerging China coming forth who's modernizing their military like we've never seen before. All the while we arrive in my own service in the United States Air Force. We were established in 1947. We now have the smallest and the oldest Air Force fleet that we've had, certainly in my lifetime, and since the Air Force began back in 1947.
Well, how is that possible? I mean, when you look at
our defense, I'm sorry.
How's that possible? Can you walk us through when we talk about when we hear all of the deficiencies in our military? Some of them, when you hear folks bringing up stats or criticisms, I'm wondering how that's the case, considering that we have the largest and most powerful military in the world.
We do, and by the way, the American people should sleep well tonight, knowing that in fact we do have a very, very strong military. But the challenge is, Blake, on the other end of that, the enemy gets a vote in this, and as you've got an ever modernizing China, you've got an ever modernizing Russia, by the way, who still maintains the largest strategic and tactical nuclear stockpile. And so the vote really sometimes goes to the enemy as well in terms of the national security challenges we have. Now, we have choices in the United States, but it's not just the military that we need to pay close attention to in terms of our budget and so forth. It's other elements of national security, which is diplomacy, which is certainly our economy. It's our global reach through both diplomatic efforts as well as military efforts. I would advocate for also a strong foreign affairs budget as well, so that we don't necessarily have to find what I would call a kinetic solution. We can find non-kinetic solutions, much like under the Bush 43 administration went into parts of Africa and really cleared up malaria and also with AIDS. That in and of itself allows for us not to have to put troops in harm's way. So it's not necessarily just a total zero-sum game, but it's a holistic approach to national security. And I would advocate absolutely for a strong national defense. But we need to also advocate for a strong U.S. national security position.
Lieutenant General, and I'm wondering if we have the image of the live shot of Arlington National Cemetery, if we could take that real quick. I'm wondering just your general thoughts on this Memorial Day, on a day like today. What goes through your mind? What do you think of? Is there someone in particular or a group of people in particular who you honor?
Well, Blake, I think, on Memorial Day and really every day, certainly in the Newton family, we think in terms of freedom isn't free. And if you could speak to the 1.4 million Gold Star family members of those who are left behind by those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, every day is Memorial Day for them. I think of my dad's West Point class of 1950, when in Korea, 41 were killed in action. My dad came home from Korea. Then in Vietnam, 7 of his classmates were killed in action. My dad came home from Vietnam. But I also think about our Iraqi and Afghan veterans, but also those who gave their lives, 7,000 American men and women. So today,
Indeed.
just as it was in World War II and in Korea and Vietnam, today we now know that freedom isn't free.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.